Welcome to The Know, I'm Meg Turney.
And I'm Haddock.
When do fan films cross the line of fair use? Well, that's what's at play here in the case of CBS versus the creators of Star Trek fan films.
And now the company has sent out an official list of rules to follow if you don't want to get sued for making a fan project. And some might call them just a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, in a new post on StarTrek.com, CBS kindly beamed down their guidelines for avoiding objections, which is just a real fancy way of saying, do this and we won't sue the shit out of you.
Yeah, so at least they're giving you a pretty decent warning about what's going to get you sued. Most of the time, they just hit you with a lawsuit.
So again, so benevolent.
Yeah.
Things started fairly reasonably at first. CBS states that any fan film can be about 15 minutes long, unless it's a two-parter. Even then, it can't exceed a total of 30 minutes.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to really have anything to do with fair use, but okay, whatever. Next up, they also state that you can't use the name Star Trek anywhere in your title. However, it must also include a subtitle that does denote it as a Star Trek fan production.
Still in the slightly reasonable territory there, sort of. The third rule in the line states that your fan film can't use any Star Trek footage whatsoever.
Yeah.
The guidelines also set a hard limit of fundraising that must not exceed $50,000.
Yeah, but that's fine because you're not allowed to pay any part of your cast or crew anyway. And per the rules, you also can't have any cameos, nor can you have anybody involved with production who has ever worked on any other CBS or Paramount property.
It better look like a VHS tape, damn it! Even if they were just the guy that plugged in a light on an episode of Star Trek Voyager, you can't use that guy.
No, and round things out, you can't put ads before or after your video when you release it. It cannot have any sort of DVD or Blu-ray release, even a free release, and no profanity, obscenity, pornography, or anything depicting any illegal activity.
You think that's gonna stop Star Trek porn makers? It won't.
Yeah, a lot of porn makers just died on the inside a little bit.
But still.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing to give fans a few guidelines to protect them from, abusing your brand, but some of these, they're a little bit extra.
Yeah, it's totally reasonable to ask people not to make money on something that's basically copyright infringement, but limiting the amount, not allowing crew to be compensated, and requiring all merchandise to be bought through your own company, it feels a little bit like the Vulcan middle finger salute.
Yes. All of this, of course, is a response to CBS's current legal battle with Alec Peters, the creator of the crowd-funded Star Trek film Axanar. CBS hit them with a lawsuit back in December. We've reported on it several times, after the movie received over $1 million from a variety of different crowdfunding initiatives.
Yeah, so far that case has been full of all kinds of drama. Peters fired back at CBS in court, stating that they weren't infringing on anything. He even tried to argue that CBS and Paramount hadn't done a good job of proving that they even owned Star Trek.
That's, one strategy you could do, I guess. If you can guess, it didn't work out so well for Alec. CBS's counter was a blistering 28-page document demonstrating hundreds of times that Axanar infringed on its intellectual property, including Vulcaneers and the Klingon language.
Yeah, leave it to those big-time lawyers to have the most savage takedowns. Currently, things seem to have taken a turn in Axanar's favor, as CBS might be backing down from its lawsuits, thanks to none other than J.J. Abrams and the new director of Star Trek, Justin Lin.
At a Star Trek fan event last month, Abrams announced that the lawsuit over Axanar would be going away. However, it still hasn't disappeared quite yet, as both parties are working on some form of settlement with one another.
Yeah, so naturally, this whole ordeal has people arguing about whether or not fan films constitute fair use, and what legal grounds CBS has to even outline these rules.
While it's unfortunate that CBS essentially went after fans who are passionate about their property, at a certain point, yes, there is a point at which it stops being a fan film and turns into an official production.
When Axanar raised that kind of money to make their own Star Trek film, adding people formerly associated with Star Trek productions, it distinguished itself from being treated like any other fan film.
Even though it's produced by fans and not an official Hollywood studio, there's very little difference between someone doing this with a huge budget and someone like Warner Brothers making their own Star Trek prequel film.
It seems like there's a difference on the surface, but there's not one at all from a legal standpoint, and that's what makes this whole thing a big deal for CBS and Paramount.
People were upset with CBS for going after their own fans, but it's kind of interesting to think about, what if the situation were reversed? What if some smaller indie film got really popular on the internet, and then CBS decided they were going to make an official version of it without paying any rights to the original creators?
And that's what copyright infringement law is in place for, and it goes both ways. We just like to side with the little guys more often than not because we don't like to root for the Goliaths, even if they might be on the right side of the law.
Still, it's not a good look to go after your fans, which we can all agree upon. And while it's a good move for CBS and Paramount to have backed off Axanar, at least according to J.J. Abrams, this still may not have been the best way to respond to everything.
In contrast to all of this, a number of other huge franchises often celebrate the creativity of fans. Lucasfilm, for instance, holds an annual fan film contest at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim.
Yes. That's what they want you to think. They're actually just sizing up the competition to see who they're gonna sue next. You're their legal discovery team for them, guys.
Obviously, you want to have some set of legal guidelines for your fans to operate within, but some of what we're seeing in their Star Trek fan film guidelines, they're unreasonable and might do more harm than good for the Star Trek brand, which we're trying to let recover right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's what the lawsuit against Axonar was meant to protect in the first place.
But there's also the argument that if you're trying to raise a ton of money to create something, you could go off and make something original. But you're a fan, I totally get it.
Of course, we all know the answer. It's because not as many people would pay attention to it, which is why people will continue to use their favorite franchises for inspiration as long as they can.
The struggle is so real, guys. So what do you guys think of CBS's new Star Trek fan film rules? Let us know in the comments. For
future arguments about copyright infringement versus fair use, like this video and subscribe to The Know.
CBS benevolently beamed in a new post on StarTrek.com. CBS I can't do it. benevolently, got it. Bleh. In a new post on StarTrek.com, CBS God damn it.